Good afternoon. Welcome to today's golf committee meeting. So I guess once again, you'll notice I'm Director Vines. Unfortunately, no, no, unfortunately, Director Standenbein has had to step down for health reasons. So I will chair today's meeting, and President Hurley will make an announcement as to who will be taking over the golf committee chair, hopefully tomorrow. And no, he has health issues. So without further ado, we will move forward with today's meeting. And we will, if you would mind standing and join me, if you are able, in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, as I said, we do have a quorum. We have one of our committee members out with an excused absence. If there are no changes or additions to last month's minutes from January, they will stand as written. Are we good to go? Okay, Karen, we're good? Thank you. So with that, we'll move into 3.01 for golf operations with Pat O'Hara.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's staying dry. All right, this is a update for the last 30 days or so of what's been going on in the world of golf. First slide is our schedule that's continual throughout the 23-24 season. We just finished up with our couples therapy on January 20th, and Saturday we're scheduled to do our Super Bowl scramble. We've got 50 or 60% chance of rain, so we'll hopefully get through that, but we're looking forward to it. We've just filled up our men's match play round robin, which is March 2nd and 3rd, two-day event. And then Sunday is when we send it out. Monday, we start taking entries for the Sun City West Classic. Picture or two of this last event we had, which was the couples therapy over at Desert Trails. Had 92 players. It was an 8 o'clock shotgun. Had a good turnout. Weather was a little overcast, but nothing like it is today. Results, you might recognize some names up there. Just like to share that because it's always good to see who are the winners, right? Have a $5,000 hole-in-one prize. We've been doing that for about, boy, it's been a while. We're still sitting on a goose egg on that baby, but we're going to hopefully get it here one of these days. It'll be a good day when we do. Green Team 2.0, I handed out a little flyer. You'll see it here. I'm going to go up a little bit and then I'll come back. It's the same as this on the slides, but it's a piece that we put together to explain the new program. Just a quick reminder, in the past, the Green Team has been around for a long, long time. It had some challenges at times trying to get people to advance because we would really like to see people improve and show them that they're improving and then get them, if they have the desire, to advance to an executive or a regulation golf course. And we do have people that started in the Green Team and are playing with the men and women at a regulation golf course. So it happens, but we'd like to see if we're the problem or if it's just something they don't want to do. So what we've done is change the curriculum. We started out with putting. Everybody had to play 9 holes on the putting green at Stardust and shoot 36 or less. That's pretty doable, and that was on the honor system. We didn't have anybody go around checking them. But then we started them the first week at the 25-yard marker, and we had some success. In fact, let's show that real quick. Week 1, we had 80 players, 71 passed at the 25-yard marker. So that was really encouraging for us. And then the next week, we marked it at 50 yards. So if you passed, you went to the 50. If you didn't, you stayed at the 25. But as you can see with the numbers, it's a different group. There were some that continued on, but there were some new 25 markers. So you saw 87 players, 30 passed at the 25-yard marker, 41 passed at the 50. So again, we see some improvement here. And then this last week, we had 92 players, 8 passed at the 25-yard marker, 29 at the 50, and 17 at the 100. So this Saturday, we have the 150 marker going. And if they pass that one, they get a play from the regular tee box. So we're seeing some improvement. We're seeing some positive signs here. Just want everybody to experience that birdie putt, picking the ball out of the hole, putting out, and building that golf game from the hole backwards. So it's been good. And I got to give a lot of credit to Kathy and Jerry Stevens for overseeing this program. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. All right, John Smith is our merchandiser over at Grandview. He replaced Linda Bowman, for those of you that knew Linda. Linda retired about 6 months ago. John's been putting together some special programs, and this went out to all of our database emails and posted up on the pro shops. So if you've got some things that you need, please give us a look over at Grandview. Reminder, Grandview sells about 83% of our product. Wanted to keep everybody updated on this. This is call center numbers. When you call a golf shop between the hours of 7 and 5 during the week, 7 and noon on the weekends, you're going to receive, or the people that are answering that are in the call center, they're not at the golf course. So we do that in order to help the starter concentrate on getting people called to the tee, collecting green fees, any food and beverage needs. And it's really helped. Nothing more frustrating than a call that doesn't get picked up. So we're seeing a lot of activity in the call center, but notice the numbers are reducing a little bit. And rounds have been really steady. In fact, January's numbers were up. What we're seeing is more people using the portal and the website. So those are good trends. This will also determine the hours that we'll, in the future, use the call center. Just a reminder, carts, 15 feet for medical flags, 30 feet for everybody else. 90-degree rule whenever possible. And of course, today we're cart path only. Todd and his crew just worked too hard to keep these courses in great shape, and this just goes a long way in helping him. All right, I'll direct your attention to the rate comparison, what we have in front of you. We do this every year, and you'll see that typically the January through the April are pretty well filled out. When we start getting into May and the summer months, they're empty, and that's because these facilities are using dynamic pricing. So if you go online, if you've done anything with Golf Now or any other third-party tee time provider, you'll see that their rates vary. And so they look at their tee sheet on a daily basis, see what the market is bearing that day, and adjust accordingly. So they don't go out that far. We and the Pebble Creeks and the Grands and the festivals, we do have a year-long schedule that we follow, and that's why you see it throughout the year. You can see that we're still a pretty good bang for the buck. I will mention too, a lot of these prices include cart. So you've got, let's just take Copper Canyon for example, $135 for a public player. That includes cart and range balls. So it's just a place to start in our budgeting process. And I was hoping to hand this out to you to give you a chance to look at it and then bring thoughts and ideas back to the committee next month. If you have any questions on this, please feel free to reach out to me. Grand includes a cart as well.
Pat?
Yes.
The Portobello, I know it's not open to the public, but what are the, do we know what they're paying over there to play? Should that, wouldn't that be viable on here?
It
in
could
that,
be.
In
It
that
could
we
be.
know that Portobello comes over here because it's less expensive and,
So Portobello is a private facility, so their residents do not have to belong. So if you live in Portobello, you don't belong to that golf course automatically. Dues are somewhere between the $500 and $600 a month. Trail fees are $800 plus a year for your cart if you choose to have your own cart. But if you need more details, I can sure give that to you.
yeah, that would be nice if you could just send it
Absolutely.
through Lisa or something and back out to the committee.
Absolutely.
So we have a comparison there.
You bet.
In Sun City Grand, that's for all the courses, they're the same. Yeah, okay. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Portobello, you got it. All right, and that concludes my presentation. Any thoughts or questions?
Are there any more committee member questions for Pat, Michael?
Yeah. Pat, I'm just wondering if I understand this correctly. So you have Sun City Grand at $130 and Sun City West at $66?
Correct.
Why is there such a disparity? I mean, our golf courses are really good golf courses. And if people are going to be coming from Glendale or, I don't know, Peoria or whatever the case may be, and they see 130 and 66.
Okay.
Well, if that 66 was even 76, do you think people would not come and play for that $10?
So,
And hold on one second. And additionally, the Sun City Grand price at $130, we get a lot of overflow from Sun City Grand.
Yep.
So the people that are residents of Sun City Grand that can't play at Sun City Grand, if it was $66 here, do you think they would not come for $76? I mean, the only reason I bring this up is it seems like every time something is discussed, the answer is always it's a revenue issue. Well, to me, here's an easy way to increase the revenue that would be a factor that would be a certain positive for Sun City West.
it could be.
It will be.
Well, I disagree.
Okay.
So I'm protective of this price structure for a couple reasons. One, the bottom line to us as a community is a little over $2 million for outside play. If you want to equate that to our residents, that's a $70 bump in your dues on a yearly basis if you took that away. Now, would all of that go away? Absolutely not. But let's step back a little bit further. 66 plus a cart is 82 plus tax. Now you're at 87. Okay, so now you're comparing 87 to 130. Very much a difference. I really believe one of the reasons why we make $2 million, because Grand, last time I heard, their outside bottom line for outside players was less than $500,000. Okay, because they don't have enough golf courses as it is.
Correct.
Okay, so my mentality is I would rather get 66 plus 16, $82, 2 to 4 times a month than once a month at 76 or 82 or 90.
I mean,
I'm not, my attitude is I'm gambling with that. I don't know if I want to gamble with that.
do you really think, though, that for the $10 that people want to play golf, that extra $10 would say, oh, no, if it was 66, I would play, but at 76, I'm not going to play?
I think price is a consideration.
Well, what I'm talking about is I'm not even comparing to people who want to go to Scottsdale-ish.
Right.
I'm saying if people are coming to the West Valley, and if you think our golf courses are comparable to Portobello, which I understand is a private facility, or Sun City Grand, which is open to the public, but you cannot get a tee time on there, they're going to come here. And if you want to compare us to, let's say, Sun City golf courses, personally, because I play there a lot during the summertime, our golf courses are so much better than Sun City courses. But my whole thing is if you're coming to this area of Surprise and your choices are Sun City Grand, where you can't get a tee time, Portobello, which is a private golf course, or Sun City West, I just cannot believe that $10 would scare people away.
And that, I think that's what you, as a committee, need to decide on what that tipping point is.
Okay, so since I'm a newbie on the committee, do we have a subcommittee at some point to discuss this? Or I don't know how this goes
So in the
forward.
past, this has been presented, and then you can weigh in on this and give thoughts to everybody and what you want to do going forward.
Like I said, I'm a newbie, so I don't know what the next step would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So is it
feel
up-
free to weigh in on that.
So now is it up to Lisa to call a subcommittee, or, like I said,
Well-
I don't know what goes on next.
Pat and Michael, if I may, the one question I have is, Pat, will you be presenting at all next month as far as a rate increase proposal for the rates?
So typically, because of the amount of data that we have historically, we're able to plug in these rate increases and the rounds of, and see how it affects it. So a lot of times, the way this works is that we look at our expenses, capital improvement projects, see what our outflow is. So what do we need to have as an inflow? And so those are what we look at and say, okay, if we raise, per Michael's suggestion, let's say we raise our green fees to $80. What are we going to lose as far as how many rounds?
Right.
70, is it going to be 25%, 20%? Best guess, best estimate, put those numbers in and see where we stack up. So that's how we'll work it out. But that'll be next month. Is that not right, Terry? Yeah, next month.
Okay, great, because I know that in the past, what we've done is we've looked at that, and we always, the fallout to that is when we determine, okay, we think the projections, we may lose this much from outside
Correct.
player, and then do we have to get that money somewhere? So then do the dues go up, and do we
So-
collect that money? So,
So to comment on that, the things to think about is, and again, Michael, I'm not opposed to this, but I'm just kind of protected because I don't want to bite off more than we can chew.
right,
And the exercise we need to go through is, okay, if we raise it to this level, what's the fallout?
right,
And if is a 25% fallout, who's going to make up the difference? Because now I've got open tea times. Is our residents demanding those tea times? Who's going to fill those spaces? So those are the things that we kind of look through. Terry, is there anything you want to add on that? Okay. So it's a process.
sure.
There's a method to the madness.
Right,
But
well, like I said, I mean, you would know, and I wouldn't know, about the outside play, like what percentage of outside play comes in versus residents.
Right.
And if you think, because again, I'm just a newbie here, and even if you raise that from 66 to 71, $5 or whatever, I just can't imagine if you have a group of 4, 8, 12 people that, oh, you know what, we were going to play Sun City West, but it went from 66 to 71. So you know what, we're not going to play at all.
Right.
I just find that hard to believe.
so the people from Denver, Colorado, from Omaha, Nebraska, from Minneapolis, coming in for a weekend, they're not going to squawk at $10, $15. Person from Surprise, person from El Mirage, person from Vistancia, that's a little different story because they all are, it's the same old deal. Is Sun City West a great deal in golf? Absolutely. Does Todd and his crew do a wonderful job keeping them in great shape? Absolutely. Greatest bang for the buck. When you start getting at those 69, 79, 89 thresholds, you start affecting people.
Yeah, and I'm not going to dispute that at all. Like I said, I'm just looking at it, if you're coming to this area, there's a limited number of golf courses that are as good as we are for the bang for the buck. And if you want to include, how about what are the prices at Verado?
Right.
They're a lot more than ours as well. I'm just looking at, in this part of the Northwest Valley,
Right.
if you're going to come here, the $5 or $10 increase will scare 0 people away. Now, like I said, I'm just looking at who our competition is. To me, our competition immediately is Sun City Grand. Well, their price is not only $135, but you can't get a tee time because the residents can't play there. They're coming here. Portobello, you said, is a private facility. So what other options are there? Well, if you want to play good golf, you're not necessarily going to go to Sun City. And I'm not being rude, but our courses are better than they are. If you want to go to Verado, well, their prices are a whole lot more than our prices would be. If you want to go to Vistancia, their prices are still more than our prices. So we would still be the best bang for the buck. The only thing that I can see what you're saying is people are going to say, you know what, let's just watch TV today. And I think if you want to play golf, You're not going to watch TV, you're going to play golf.
Yeah. Or they're going to find someplace cheaper, one of the two.
And there is no place cheaper.
Well, there is. You got El Mirage, Pueblo El Mirage. You've got Coyote Lakes at times. You've got some other choices around here.
Right.
One other footnote to the numbers, it's around 10% for member guests, and it's about 10% for public. So that makes up our 20% outside of our resident play. So just kind of keep that in mind too. Okay?
Lisa?
Okay.
Lisa?
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I tend to agree with Mike. I don't think $5, I just don't think it's going to make a difference. A tool that I've used in the past, in my past employment, and maybe the business folks can weigh in, is what you call a dynamic model. So as you work with the rates here, let's say you put in $5 and Pat, you were talking about, you can see the bottom line. You can actually do that in a graph and to revenue expenditures and where the lines cross. And it seems to me that would be something good to see as we begin to potentially play with rates. I would advocate that, Lisa, if you're open to that, that a small work group work with the business office to see what that might look like, so that when we come back in a month, if we have recommendations, we can show what those may or may not do to the bottom line. Just a thought. It's something new, it's something different.
Okay.
I think
Tom.
they can do that.
Thanks, Kathy. Good idea. Tom?
Okay, Pat, if I remember right, we made a fairly substantial increase last year.
We
on our
did.
public rates fee. When you come back next month, would you bring the statistics of how much public play has increased or decreased from the previous year?
Okay.
See how that affected that line there?
Okay.
Because, I mean, we still have an awful lot of open tee times that could be sold.
Right.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do is, if Pat,
Yes.
if you can go ahead and bring that information that Tom is requesting, as well as maybe any, your proposed rate increase percentages that you would like to.
March.
You
Yeah,
know,
we'll
for
talk-
March,
talk
if you
about
could
it in
do
March.
that, if
Sure.
that, and then we can work off of that. And if, at that point, if we think that we still need to put together a work group.
Yeah, just so I'm clear, Pat, these are not proposed rates.
No, these are the.
These are actual,
current.
these
This
are
is current.
actuals.
Right, okay, so you have not made your proposal for
No.
No,
next year.
have not.
That's what I'm-
Wanted
I'm
everybody to see
asking
what
him.
that looks like, and
All
then
right.
we'll,
So let's talk timeline a little bit. We didn't get this in advance, and I understand, okay? So we have 30 days to look this over and in our own little world, build a financial model to play with the numbers, as opposed to having a work group work with the business office that already has the model
right,
and begin to work on that. I don't see a harm in having a small work group.
no. Absolutely.
Pat, would,
Past years, we've had.
yeah,
work
would you
groups.
like a small work group to work with you on this?
That'd be great, sure.
Okay. So,
And I think that helps gather support as well, you know.
I'm thinking that last year, who did, you had, how many, did you have a work group last year?
We
I don't
did
think
last
you
year, I
did.
think it was the year before.
Okay, and I wasn't on the committee that year, so,
I think Lisa, if you get back to us, that's
Yeah,
fine.
and I'll get
Well-
with Cliff and Terry, and we'll contact, or maybe if anybody has an interest of being part of that work group.
okay.
Yeah.
So if you have an interest, if you wouldn't mind, just send me an email and let me know that you are interested, and then I can work with
Absolutely.
Pat as far as, but. Right, so we wouldn't be able to. Right, if, so here, this is where I was going with that. I was, I think it's great to put together a work group, and if you want to do that, I'm happy to actually form a work group today and announce that and move forward and discuss what, your guidelines are as far as moving forward. And otherwise, if we say today, we're just going to have you email me your interest, that means that we can't even set the work group until March's meeting, because I have to announce it at the meeting.
Or we can set it today, we can leave the membership of it open, but we set the general deliverables like for March, what this work group is going to be presenting. And then
Right. Yeah, since we're asking Pat to bring information forward for March,
Okay.
um, I think that,
When do the rates have to be delivered? When do we
That's
have
a
to
good
have final rates?
Yesterday.
Pete, when do we have to deliver? Is it April or May that we have to bring forward any type of a rate increase to the governing board? I want to say April. May, that's what I thought. So we have to. Okay, so we would have to get going.
Yeah, can I just ask though, when you go public with the budget and you do your kind of public things, is that in April?
The presentations?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So would it be before that then?
So
Otherwise, you're going out public saying this and then you
Well,
want
and
to
I-
change it
So
later?
let me just start with this question. Who here on the committee is interested on being on the work group? Can I just see a show of hands? So as it stands, I just have Kathy and Michael, right? Nobody else is interested? So I think it's pretty easy. If nobody else is interested, then I just have Kathy and Michael.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay, so I
And
think.
myself, and then we'll get
And then it-
accounting.
Yourself, and then we need
Cliff and
another
Terry.
staff member.
Uh-huh.
Terry, would that be you? Or, and Cliff as well, right? Since we're not, he's not here, I hate to just, but we're gonna, I call it voluntold, so you can let him know he's been voluntold. So the first, as far as setting a structure, just initially, you're just going to review the rates and see the impact that the increase, last year's increase had on the
Right.
numbers, correct?
Correct.
And then see what maybe
that
your
is.
projections of an increase this year, what that would have. Would that be the first thing you would bring forward to March for us that
Correct.
we could expect?
Yeah, the
Correct.
information, so everybody's comfortable with it, and then we can delve into the
Got
play
it.
in the what-if game.
That's the first set of. Correct. Correct. Did you list Pat on there? I didn't hear Pat. Oh, okay. No, I didn't, I'm sorry, I just didn't hear your name, but I want to make sure. Correct. Correct.
Okay? So I'll reach out to everybody, set something up.
For March, the initial, yeah, that information for March delivery.
Very good.
I just want to,
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Michael?
Just real quick, you had mentioned something about, and I don't know this at all, so there was a big bump in outside rates for outside play was a big bump from the previous year to this year?
Right.
Okay. Do you think, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, has there been a significant decrease in outside play?
That's the information you're going to find out.
Well, I don't know if Pat knows this off the top of his head.
The
You know,
mix
'cause-
is, the mix has changed, yes. Our Twilight, Super Twilight time frame has increased or stayed, that's good. But our public play is down to significant, I don't know.
In the
what.
mornings. But
Okay.
in
Correct.
Twilight time is still good.
So
Right.
Okay.
we're going to move this along.
Right.
Okay. So anything, Pat, I need to go to the audience first.
Okay.
Before we let you escape. So for the audience, if you have any questions for Pat, please come to the mic and give your name and rec card number, please.
Hi, not that I'm anonymous to some of you, but Scott Arthur, rec number 13.
Thank you.
I never thought I'd be agreeing with Pat O'Hara, but okay. Well, no, just on Michael, Mr. Berg's point is there is these days a perception that people are getting gouged and they're really watching what they're paying for things. So, otherwise, why would things be priced $199, $399? So there's a certain psychological thing. Once you get up to like $10 and they know they just played for the $10 less, it kind of irks people. They start to get to it's on principle. So there is that factor.
Well,
But I understand what you're saying. The other,
Well, I was going to say, I don't dispute what you're saying at all. My only thing is, and I ran pharmacies my entire life, was you need to know what your competition is charging. So our main competition, in my mind, is Portobello and Sun City Grand. And like I said, and Pat had said, Portobello is private, you can't play there. Sun City Grand, and I used to live there, the residents are coming here. So it's not going to affect any of that. As far as the other people that live in Peoria or Glendale or things like that, you might be right. You know, Pat will have this information at our work
You don't
groups.
know. People are
I don't
different.
know yet,
Yeah.
correct.
Anyway, the other thing was on one of the presentations about the 15 feet distance with the carts. And there's a perception on people I play with that the pros don't really care. I've got a photograph on my phone right now I took at Trail Ridge of a group ahead of us, where this cart is literally 2 paces from the edge of the green. They pulled right up between the bunker, and we took pictures, went over to the clubhouse to that new pro we got, I forgot his name, and showed him the picture. Oh, yeah, well, gee, why do you expect us to be diligent when we take the information to them and they do nothing about it? It's pretty shocking. In fact, I took also pictures of the tire tracks they left right alongside the green after they left. We're trying to be diligent. We try to inform these guys, but then we get a reaction like, what, you know? So why should we bother? It's shocking to some of us to see this stuff, but you take it to the golf pro, and it's like, oh yeah, well I got something to do now, you know. That's all I got.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Oh, we have one, I guess
Well,
we
real
have.
quick, yeah, I'm sorry you got that reaction.
I-
That's not
yeah.
our intent.
I'd like to show you a picture.
I mean, we get, Mr. Arthur, we get pictures every week
Yes.
about, I'm saying that it's more than just your group in front of you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a green grass effort here. It's got to be done by all of us in here, and we're the ones that are, you know, to answer your question, the golf pro, Mike Williams, wasn't out playing. He didn't do it. He didn't go out there, meaning he didn't run the cart between the bunker and the green. Should he be more responsive? Absolutely. He does care. That's how we keep our courses in great shape, so.
Oh, I'd have to take your word on that, sir.
Hi, Tom McNally, 915482. Couple of things. I tend to agree with Michael. You know, they come here, whether they rent carts or not, and more often than not, well, I'd say maybe 70% rent the cart, maybe less than that. But they come here because the green fees at all 7 of our courses are significantly less. Now, Pat, you brought up a subject that the general public doesn't think of afterwards. We just see it as a possibility of, damn, raise it $15 and make it whatever. As, you know, we've had increases minor yearly for the last couple of years, both with our golfing fee and with our card fees. I just think that, thank you for at least coming up with something that's going to look into it, because there are a lot. Now, there are not a lot of early morning out of Sun City West golfers, but the 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then as it gets lighter, there is, and there will continue to be. And a lot of those bring their own carts from Grand, from even Peoria. So that's just, thank you for that. And one last thing, a compliment and a suggestion. Nobody knows about the golf lab. By I say nobody, I mean limited amount of people do. I met Dave on Saturday. His prices are less expensive than the local, without mentioning their name, on Camino del Sol golf shop in everything that I looked at. From the grips to the balls to the accessories. And even if it's, and I have no clue as far as what it would cost you, But even if it's a little sign, golf accessories available at Golf Lab at Grandview. And I mean, he was busy, and they just weren't doing re-gripping. They were selling club weights. They were selling all kinds of things. I wouldn't have known that it was cheaper than the Camino del Sol place, which I think we all know who that is. But that's an additional, yes, the advertisement may cost a little bit, but we're just putting a little sign, which we do anyway when we do our support for veterans, our support for other things, okay, or our men's club signups, etc., just so that the people at one, it doesn't have to be in front of, but off to the side of the registers. And I would think that would be an additional source for income also. And Dave is just, he's fantastic.
Dave's a good man.
He's kind of jumping between 7 different customers. Thankfully, Dave has a staff that's excellent also.
Yeah, he
So
does.
that's just my 2 cents worth. I think that might be something to look into.
Very good. Yeah, Dave's a good man, runs a good show.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Pat, Michael has a suggestion for that.
Well, based upon what this gentleman said, why can't we put something on every register receipt?
Yeah,
But then how many people look at their registers? I mean, if you're going to the grocery store, you may.
We need you to come back to the mic, Tom, if you're going to talk. Thank you. Yeah. The viewers at home can't hear you from back there. Thank you.
Great idea, Mike, but, you know, I grab my receipt and I put it in my wallet. I don't look at it. You know,
Okay. Right.
yeah, yeah,
Well, you know, it's that old adage, you can lead a horse to water.
yeah.
Can I?
Of course, Tom.
Dave is not an employee of the rec center. He rents the space.
I know.
Rec center doesn't get any money other than rent out of that.
Okay.
I mean, I love Dave. He does a great job, and we can help advertising, but we don't need to be spending money to advertise for
Okay,
it.
I thought he was a percentage. I know he
No.
rents the space. I thought that the city, the golf courses specifically, the golf program got a percentage of it. I was unaware that he doesn't. Okay.
no, yeah, real quickly, yeah, Dave and the rec centers have a great partnership. It's a third-party agreement. We advertise on the Grandview sign for him at no charge. We put slides up in the pro shop at no charge for him. And we also host a radio show with Dave. So Dave's an important part of our golf community, and we want to keep that, and we want to see him succeed. So if there's other ways we can advertise, we'll surely look into it.
Great. Thank you,
Thank
Pat.
you.
Please come to the mic, please.
Jim Engstrom, rec number is 125374.
Thank you.
Pat asked me to come today. During the last overseeding period, I have a group of normally 8 people, sometimes 10, but we got knocked out of 5 out of 6 weeks from the lottery during the overseeding. All I'm asking is, can we get, if you get knocked out of the lottery 1 week, why can't you automatically get a tee time for the following week during overseeding? I'm not saying the same time or anything else like that, but I would think that a group of even 8 or 10 people can get a tee time every other week during overseeding. That's all I'm asking. And I submitted that to Pat
Okay.
a couple of 3 months ago, and so that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pat?
Yeah, and Mr. Ingram, if you would, sit tight. I've got a presentation on lottery and
Right.
group play here in a minute, so I'd like for you to see that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
we have a 402 as we get down to it, talks about that. Thank you. Okay, so
Okay.
I think, Pat, that's it for that. We'll move into 302, Environmental Services, Todd Patty. We're going to talk about the budget, Todd, I think? No, that's further down? Thank you, Todd.
This is my regular report. Yeah. This is just an update on the Office of Tourism grant projects. And I think it was the December meeting, I presented the facts and findings to kind of give you a little background on what was going on and how we were going to spend that grant money. So I'll just have an update today. And you'll see a few maps here. This is Pebblebrook out on 128. You have the chipping green up there on the right, but you can see in the map there where we're putting some new trees, where the desert landscape is going to go in, and some plant material over there behind 10T, and a little bit over there on by the chipping green. And then on the right-hand side, Pro Shop, you can see again all that vegetation that we're taking the grass out and putting new plants and trees in that area as well. We haven't started that yet. We're over on Parkwood, and I'll get to that. There you go. Parkwood, over there behind 17T as you cross from 16 to 17. On both sides, we've removed that grass already. We've capped all the irrigation heads. And with the weather, they've had to back off a little bit. It's just too muddy for them to get in there. So hopefully next week they'll be able to get in and finish that up, putting the plants and the trees in. They're already on site, so we just need to dig those holes and plug those in. And over there behind 12 Green and 13, same thing along Parkwood. So I think it's going to have a really good look to it when it's all said and done. And this just gives you a view of the areas that I was just mentioning. The one on the left is coming off of 13, and then over there, no, I'm sorry, that's 16 going to 17, and the one on the right behind 12 Green as you cross over. So all those areas are going to be coming out. Stardust Golf Course, that's been completed. Again, you can see the overhead, the mapping there of all the trees and the plants that are going in. Over by the cart barn. Now that's butts up right next to that practice area on the other backside of the cart barn. We didn't touch that, so everything's still intact over there. You still have that full practice facility over there. And you can see the picture. You can see the yellow caution tape in the background on the picture there. That's the chipping green over there. So we didn't bother that at all. So this is completely, in fact, all these areas are out of play for the most part. And just a couple more pictures. The one is we're just finishing up there on the right-hand side. You can see those dark spots. That's where we ran the drip irrigation. That's water going to not only the new plants, but also to the existing trees that we have over there, so we can keep those alive. And then just a little detail over at Pebblebrook, we have 19 trees that are going to be going in on both locations, and then 224 plants. It's just under 2 acres in size in total. And so we're looking at about 6.1 acre feet of water savings per year. And that's based off of our 3.3 acre feet per year calculation that we came up with when we were doing the Grandview project. And then over at Stardust, same thing, 9 trees, not as many, 119 plants, and just under an acre in total out there in front for a 3.2 acre feet of water per savings per year. Oops, go back. And then just to give you an idea of some of the plant material and trees that are going to be going in, the Valentine shrub, you see a lot of that in the community. We use some of that over at the Grandview project. The Cordia, again, we used quite a bit of that over at Grandview. It's very fast growing, low water use, as all these plants are low water use. The Regal Mist, which is the fountain grass, and the Chinese pistache tree, which you can see have really good color at certain times of the year. Very hardy. That's one tree that really survived the summers. If you were here last summer, you know we had that extreme heat. That's one tree that just didn't miss a beat going through the heat. So, and then the red yucca. It sheds a little bit. Yeah, not as much as some of the others, but yeah, it does drop leaves a little bit. And then the red yucca. I think everyone's the Hesperilla. I think everyone's familiar with that plant. You have it all over in your landscape at your house and throughout the community. So anyway, that's just a quick update on where we're at. And then we're kind of in a time crunch to get these projects done. We have to finish these projects and submit all the pictures and all the paperwork to the Office of Tourism, or they're probably going to ask for their money back, and I certainly don't want to give them any money back, so we're not going to do that. We're going to finish on time. So, all right. So anyway, that's just the update that I had today, and then here in a little bit, I'll be going over the capital budget for landscape maintenance and golf course maintenance.
Super. Thanks. Are there any questions from the committee for Todd? Any questions from the audience for Todd? No? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move into 3.03 for the December financials. I was just going to ask if it's going to be Cliff or Pete or Terry, so thank you, Terry, filling in. Welcome, Terry.
Director Vines. Cliff is in the torch meeting doing his presentation a couple doors down, so
Mhm.
I am tasked with this today. I'm presenting the year-to-date through December.
Okay.
We're working on closing, or January right now, so this is kind of a month back, but we'll go with this. So December actual year-to-date versus budget. In the operating revenue, we're ahead our operating budget by 78,000. Golf fees are up 87,000. We have the ancillary part of that for the year-to-date is the less rent that we've collected at Grandview during the closure for Crooked Putter and the Golf Lab. Moving on, our golf rounds were 5,484 more than budget through the end of December. And although our average rate per round is down 58 cents, and that's more just due to the mix of public, guest, and member rounds. Going to expenses for December year-to-date versus December budget, we are ahead of our budget by 135,000 to the favor. So overall, December is, we're operating 213 ahead of budget. Now, if we look to prior year, our operating revenues, we're ahead of prior year by 274,000. Up in golf fees by 277. The ancillary is down the same reason. Our notables for actual versus the prior year, we're plus 1.9%, which is 2,355 rounds. And our golf fees are $1.66 per round higher than last year. Some of the notables on the revenues over prior year, our unlimited card revenue is up by 29,000. Kachina's down a little, and then Coyote and Twilight are both up again. And our frequent play is down by just a little, $1,000. So pretty much on budget or on pace with last year's revenues for golf carts. And then our greens fees revenue changes versus FY23. You can see there everything, they're kind of up in all the categories. It's just how they're split out. Going to expenses versus our actual through December versus last year, we are behind, or we're over by 230,000. And most of that is just due to our wage increases and health insurance costs went up from last year. You can see the breakout. Utilities has to do with just there was a rate increase for utilities. And actually this next slide kind of does that. Payroll, benefits, utilities, we had a rate increase of 9%, and then with the heat of the summer, our utilities were behind last year by 127,000. So year-to-date versus prior year, we're still ahead with the increased revenue. We're still ahead of that by $144,000. And then as we've been talking about the budget coming up, we do have, we'll be presenting that at the next golf committee meeting with expenses. We're just getting those pulled in right now from Todd and Pat. It's looking just kind of a forecast, kind of get you guys thinking about it. It looks like we're gonna be up. Wages and benefits increased by about 7% from last year, from this year's budget to next year. And also, even though seed was down this year versus what we had budgeted, they are seeing about a 7% increase in seed and chemical from this current year to next year.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Are there any questions for
Yeah,
Terry?
you said wages and benefits were up 7%. Is that what you said approximately?
that-
How much is that as wages versus benefits? Approximately.
I don't have that
Okay,
breakdown.
no
I just got a
breakout.
7.
That's fair.
Yeah, so we will have that it'll be all broke out at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Anybody else at committee? Okay, audience, anybody have any questions for Terry? No? Perfect, great. Thanks so much, Terry, appreciate it. So with that, we'll move into 4.01 with Todd Patty for the fiscal year 2024, 2025 proposed capital budget.
There we go. All right, I think I've presented most of this. I have a few updates, a few numbers have changed, but basically it's the same presentation I gave you, but just a few updates. So I'm just going to go through the whole thing again. This is for the environmental services, which is golf maintenance and landscape maintenance. We'll start with golf maintenance. You can see that we have 19, this year we have 19 units, golf maintenance equipment scheduled for replacement. You can go down the list there. It's all the units that we use on a daily basis to maintain our golf courses, all the mowers, fairway mowers, greens mowers, greens rollers, sprayers, turf vacs, and those kind of things. So you can see the number that we're asking for. The total is $992,838 total. And then on the vehicle side, we have 13 listed. We have 11 light and heavy duty utility carts. Again, they're used for daily maintenance for the crew to get around, change cups and do other things on the golf course. We have one pickup truck for transportation, and then one dump truck, which is shared equipment, which is between the 7 golf courses for $357,689. And I'd like to note that we did delay the purchase of 4 units this year for a total of $161,560. And I've mentioned the process that we go through every year with the budget in relation to the reserve study. We review that, and if there's some things on the reserve study that that needs to be replaced and it's still working, we're not putting a lot of money into it, we'll push that out into another year or even beyond. So we'll evaluate that next year. And if it's still running and we're not, the mechanics, not a lot of downtime and we're not putting a lot of money into it, we'll push out another year. So our total equipment replacement is $1.3 million, and that works out to be about $192,932 per golf course, for all 7 golf courses. And then just a summary, on the left-hand side, you can see the location of the equipment, the project, equipment description, and then on the right-hand side, you can see what we're replacing. So you can see the dates on some of those. I've made note of that 1995 Rayco-Vac, 29 years old. So we've got a lot of mileage out of that. That's pretty good because that does get a workout, especially during the overseeding process. So the average on this list, the average age is about 10 and a half years that we're replacing. So, and I found that most of our equipment, we're getting well beyond the useful life on our equipment. And I credit our mechanics and their preventative maintenance program that they have, keeping it up and keeping it in good shape and out working. So really a lot of credit to them. And then same summary on the vehicle replacement. You can see that the average age is 13.8 years. And then again, I've highlighted some of the big ones at 31 years for that Ford pickup truck. I don't know how many miles it has on it, but it's a lot. And then the Isuzu dump truck, which really gets a lot of use, and that's at 30 years. So so when we replace those, like the dump truck and the truck, I would imagine getting about the same amount of years out of those on those new ones. So I won't be here for that replacement on those, okay? I can guarantee you that. And then on the landscape maintenance side, we have a greens roller for $15,034. That replaces an 18-year-old unit, and that's used over at the lawn bowl greens, the 4 greens that we have over there. Again, it was listed on the reserve study. We delayed the purchase of 1 unit, which was a Toro top dresser. We delayed that and moved that out till next year, and maybe if we can even move that out another year if we need to. We'll make that decision next year. And then we deleted 2 units, 2 dump trailers from the reserve study. We just felt that we didn't need those at this time. So a little bit of savings there. And then utility cart replacement for landscape maintenance, $56,903. We have 1 heavy-duty utility cart, a Toro Workman. It replaces the 12-year-old Workman. It does need a new motor. Now, with the age of this, we can't find a replacement motor for this, so we're going to have to find something that would fit into that unit. And so we're probably anywhere from $8,000 to maybe $10,000, I would imagine. And it does have some other issues with it. So I would say it's going to take $10,000 to get that thing up and running, and you're putting that money into a 12-year-old unit. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. So, and then the club car carry-all street legal, again, replaces a 12-year-old unit, and it also needs a new motor and has some other issues with it too. And that's $18,500 for that. So, and again, these were listed on the reserve study. And then rental carts for golf operations. We have 20 rental carts scheduled for replacement. Unit cost is about $6,400 each. Again, on the reserve study. And we're getting about 10 years, replacing carts that are about 10 years plus on those. And so having, and Pat will tell you, having a good rental fleet with our outside play, that's very important to have good carts and having a good amount of carts that are running for outside play. So, all right, and then on to our big project, Echo Mesa irrigation and turf reduction, scheduled to start April 7th of next year, 2025. And then right now we're in the first phase, the planning phase. It's in the current budget. We had $205,000 in there, and you can go through there. You can see some of the things that have already been completed, like the engineering drawing, GPS mapping, pre-bid meeting with the vendors that happened this past Tuesday, and then now they have a deadline of March 5th to submit bids for this project. It starts in April of 2025. Field staking of the perimeters, that's just to define where we're going to have the desert edges as they butt up to the turf. We're going to do that in July and August of this summer. And then phase 2, not much has changed on this. It does replace the original irrigation system. We're looking at anywhere from a 12 to 15% increase on irrigation material. New distribution station for $280,000, that's included in phase 2. Installation of road crossing main lines. We have 7 of those over at Echo Mesa. And then the transfer line connection, which we didn't have over at Grandview. It's very vital that we put this in at Echo Mesa because it's kind of the hub, and we can transfer water to all the 7 golf courses, not only from Echo Mesa, but the other golf courses. But Echo Mesa is the big player in that when we're transferring water. So it's important that we put that in there. And then as far as the turf reduction, only 18 acres are scheduled. As you know, we removed 45 over at Grandview, so it's really scaled back. And then 14-foot perimeters on average. I think on average over at Grandview, we're somewhere between 20 and 25 in that area. And then again, street fronts and road crossings, just like what we did over at Grandview. So similar or identical project to what we did at Grandview, same type of rock, the same plants, everything, just scaled back quite a bit. And then as far as the plants go, we're looking at 2,000 plants in total for Echo Mesa. Over at Grandview, we had over 6,700 trees, 60. Again, those are going to be on the road crossings and street fronts and not behind the homeowners where we're going to block their view. We're not going to do that. And so we had over 280 trees that we planted over at the Grandview project last summer. And then just the project timeline that we put together, I'll just note a couple of areas. Public forum is scheduled for Thursday, December 5th here in this room from 1 to 3. And that's to go over the plans and then have the community come in, golfers or homeowners come in, and they can look at the plans and see what's going to happen behind their house, just like what we did over at Grandview. And then we're going to have a second one. We haven't set a date on that yet, but we're looking at February of 2025. The project start date, again, is Monday, April 7th, and we're going to start on the back 9. We're going to close the entire golf course this time. Last summer when we did Grandview, we closed the back 9, started back there. We had the front 9 open for 9-hole play. We had the driving range open, the practice facilities, the golf lab, the restaurant. I believe the pro shop was open too for certain hours. And so, but we don't have that those amenities over at Echo Mesa. So we're just going to close the entire golf course. But we are going to start on the back 9. That's where our pump station is located. So when you talk about main line installing, everything comes out from the pump station and then makes its way around the golf course. So we're looking at a completion date of Thursday, August 29th at this time, and then we'll go into overseeding the week of September 22nd with the first series of courses at that time. And then golf course reopens after overseeding on Tuesday, October 21st. And then the long-range turf reduction plan, as you can see, we've already knocked off Grandview, 45 acres. We estimated a water savings of 150 acre-feet per year. Echo Mesa, we're looking at 60, and then you can go down the line. Stardust in 2027, we'll do a similar project, and Pebblebrook will round it out in 2029. So when it's all said and done, we're looking at a projected annual water savings of about 305 acre-feet of water a year. So that's pretty good. That's probably enough water to water a golf course that has like 90 acres of irrigated turf. So something like Trail Ridge or a little bit smaller. So that's a big savings. And you know, with that fifth management plan is going to roll out in 2025. And I think with the savings that we have on this, the new irrigation systems, that's going to add to our savings as well. The lake shores that we're doing to prevent seepage, that's also going to add to our savings. So I think when 2025 comes around and they have that new allotment, we're going to be in great shape. We really are. I'm not worried about it at all. So, and what they do beyond that, 2025, if they have a sixth management plan, if they're going to roll that out, I don't know. I haven't heard any word on that. But even if they do that, I don't think it's going to be too big, and I think we're going to be fine. And then our 5-year plan for the course maintenance, the summer closures, and some projects. Now, these are just some of these as you get further out, like 27, 28, kind of placeholders. But I wanted to put those in there anyway. But most of them are irrigation, or not irrigation, but water conservation projects. So this summer, we're closing Pebblebrook and Stardust. We have tree removal and replacement at both courses. Cart path seal coat scheduled. And then over at Pebblebrook, we'd like to do some T expansion, maybe some recontouring and that kind of stuff over there. And then you can see as you go along Trail Ridge, Echo Mesa, and then Stardust will enter their phase 1 of the irrigation project in 2026, similar to what we're doing right now at Echo Mesa. And then we start the project in 2027. And then Pebblebrook, same thing, phase 1 in 2028, and then do the big part of the project in 2029. And that concludes my capital budget report.
Any questions for Todd? Go ahead, Al. Gotcha.
Todd, yes, sir. Of the non-Sun City West golf courses, are any of the other courses around the area going through the same thing?
They are. I know Briarwood was doing a little bit of conversion at one time, and they started that. I don't know where they're at. And Hillcrest, that's a huge golf course. I think they have 180 acres of irrigated turf. That's the biggest golf course in the walls here. And I don't know what they're doing over there. I really don't. But they use groundwater, so they have the same restrictions, and they have to abide by those new allotments from the state, just like we do. So what they're going to do, I'm not sure.
I'm not, just from my own being over at Briarwood officiating a tournament, it appears to me that they're just letting their areas, non-turf, just letting them go to dirt.
Yeah.
And no plants or anything else going into it. They're not watering it, hadn't been watering it quite a while. It's almost just dirt, which I'm not sure how the residents are doing, but.
Yeah. And that's one way you can do it. You can either put the desert in like what we're doing, or you can just start capping the sprinkler heads and shut the water off. But then, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, they had an issue with the county with the dust control. And I think they either told them, you either turn the water back on or put rock down. And I'm not sure what happened. But anyway, I think we're doing the right thing by putting desert landscape in. I think it has a good, clean look to it, and I would hate to just shut the water off and then let it go to dirt. And yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Todd from the committee?
I've got one more question.
Okay,
On the golf course maintenance equipment that's proposed, there's 19 units. What portion or what percentage of all of your maintenance equipment is that?
Oh, good question. You know what? I don't know if I could answer that. It's
Todd, would you say
3 or
it's-
5%.
Would you say 50 at each course?
Yeah, more than that.
Maybe
I think if you're
actually,
looking at everything,
equipment,
that's I was trying to count in my head.
Probably like 500, 600. So, yeah, very nominal amount. Between the two, that'd be 32 units, so roughly 5%, I think he's.
Yeah, I was thinking between 3 and 5% would be a good number to use.
so any audience? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael, you did have a question?
Why not?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know if this is for Pat or for Todd, but at the last meeting, I had brought up the possibility of when we replace golf carts, to be replacing them with some single rider carts, which may alleviate some of the issues that some residents are having as well. And I don't see that on here. Is this where that would go, under the golf cart replacement? Because here you have, I believe, $6,500 to replace a golf cart, and you could probably get 2 single rider carts for that amount of money. And if you bought a bunch of them for various courses, that might solve some of the problems.
Right, good question. We are looking into that. We're getting bids to see what our options are, so look for some more information down the road.
And Michael, to that, it's my understanding that it's going to be a separate line item. We've had this discussion at the ops meeting, and Bill Schwinn said it will be a separate line item. So before we let Todd escape, we need to make a recommendation to the governing board regarding Todd's request. So if you look further back in your package, you have the spreadsheet that looks like this. If you'll go to the green page, that's all the golf course requests. And the one, two, three, the first 5 line items are the ones that, the main ones Todd was talking about. And what I'd like to do is just make a recommendation regarding those 5 line items, as far as just saying that if they're, that the golf.
I support moving forward.
Okay, what, I'd like to read the recommendation, and then if nobody has any issues, we can move forward with it. So you're on the right path, Kathy. So the golf committee reached consensus to recommend that the governing board approve all fiscal year 2024, 2025 golf capital budget projects as proposed. And if there are no issues and everybody's in consensus, I'd like a yes from everybody.
Yes.
Yes. Great. Karen, we'll move forward with that. Thank you. Perfect. I did ask, you didn't.
He just brought it, Mr. Burke brought it up after.
Okay, you can,
Touched on a single rider.
give me 1 second, Mr. Arthur. Pete?
So sorry, I was actually just going to amplify. Terry, could you bring up Todd's presentation of the 50,000 plus? Because I have some other things. Pete Finelli, the reserve analyst, 3 things kind of approach my world. No, I'm sorry, for his presentation. Yeah. So back up under landscaping. Terry, it's kind of near the beginning. No, you're in the right one, but yeah, there you go, sorry. I did this on the fly, my apologies.
That's all right.
So under landscaping, he noted that, yeah, you keep going. It's like 3 or 4 more slides, right? One more, there you go. Okay, so what he didn't note was 2 things. He mentioned that every year, earlier in this year, we had presented 3. And they've had some challenges in staffing and landscaping. And they came to the realization that while the need might exist there for the replacement of a truck, they reevaluated that and took that completely off. So that's a possibility of not only pushing it down the line, but possibly just removing it from the reserve study altogether, which would be favorable to the association. What he didn't also note was on the second one there, while it says it's a club car carryall at 18.5, this is actually replacing a heavy-duty one, which those run upwards of 39,000. So every year, Todd, Dan are not just rubber stamping any kind of item, and just they're always evaluated, and I wanted to make sure y'all recognize that. Moving down, if you'd go to the Grandview portion, I wanted to kind of highlight, so to speak, my world a little bit. When you see the $5,050,000, I wanted to kind of bring this up. A lot of people rightfully see that as a large investment. But what they don't know is behind the scenes, most irrigation systems in the past have had very much on the almost the high end, 35, 40 years, like we've seen at Grandview for a total irrigation replacement. That's very typically the very high end of the curve. They've made this last that long. But the investment we're making here, and if you just used 5 million divided by 25 years, every year we're asking the association to put $200,000 out into replacing it when it comes due, not to mention inflating it for, inflation. But when you make this investment right now, Todd can step to the microphone and talk about it more if he wants, but we're being told that the main lines, the laterals, these pipes are extremely durable. They're not like anything we saw put in 40 years ago. They're going to last 60, 70, 80 years. And so that 5 million is going to be divided by that larger denominator. The association's going to save, $100,000 or $200,000 more annually. So sometimes these staggering numbers, I've witnessed it firsthand, that's just a lot. And they don't sometimes realize the back end benefit. And that leads me to my last one. If you go to the acreage savings, everybody on this committee knows this very intimately. Thank you, Terry. But we own the water rights. So the water bill is very nominal for the golf courses. What costs a lot of money is getting it out of the ground. And a lot of people will be surprised that the golf maintenance, I'm losing a little bit of story here, but I think 3-4 years ago we evaluated it, and our energy usage on the golf courses was equal to all the costs, that you saw at the 4 rec centers. So if you're pulling, 5 years, 6 years from now when all these are done, imagine the cost savings that's going to emerge from not having to extract, possibly upwards of 1/10, maybe even a little bit higher than that of what you're currently running. That's hundreds of thousands annually. So just thought, from my chair, we sometimes don't hear these statistics. So.
Great, thank you, Pete. And let me add to something Pete touched on a little bit too. Is this is my 3rd year on the governing board. I'm in my home stretch of my 3-year term, and I have shared this many times, but some of you may not have heard it. This is by far the best first pass budget I have seen in my term on the board, and it's outstanding. I think there's very little modification that has to be done to this budget. I think the only thing we're looking at so far is possibly 2 line items that may have to come out. That's it. The staff has done an outstanding job at putting this budget together, really doing a lot of hard work goes into this, and we've given them kudos, accolades many times, and this is wonderful. So it makes our job certainly a lot easier. So I thank you from my seat here for, listening and moving this portion forward. It makes my life easier when I have to present to the governing board. So, thank you. So, all right, with that said, we're going to, Mr. Arthur, did you have something you want to say? If you'll come to the mic, please.
Yeah, Scott Arthur, 1310, oh, I already did that.
Yeah, you have to do it again. You have to do it again, though.
1310, 13. Are that popular to be investing in them right now? I've seen fewer of them around this golf season than last, and I've been over to Echo Mesa, Grandview, Trail Ridge. I saw more last season. Do we know that these are really something people want, or is it just supposed to solve a problem they envision over here at Golf Ops? I'll never ride. Well, Mr. O'Hara here offered to let me ride his one day, and I politely declined. If I have any fantasies of being a Hell's Angel, I'll buy a real chopper and not one of those phony things. They're not for me, and I'm never going to have to ride one anyway with my situation that I touched on before. But I think we need to find out if this is something people really want before we're going to spend our money on these things. You don't even know how much they are yet, I'm sure, right?
No, I think Pat
You know,
does. I
is
think
this
we
going
do
to
have an
force
idea.
people to go play somewhere else because they can use their own cart and they don't want to use those things?
I think Pat can really address this for you, but what we're looking at is only one per course to start, and as a beta, if you will.
Right, yeah, we're looking at the pricing and the relevance to it, Mr. Arthur, see if that's part, is it part of the solution, or is it just another problem we're creating? So, yeah, we'll have more information at our next meeting.
Yeah, because I think a big part of that would be, are these really something people want? You know, are they practical? Not very. They're not multi-use. When my grandson comes over for a ride on the golf cart, what am I supposed to do? Put him up on the handlebars? You know,
No.
They're not practical to go to the grocery store with.
It's
you
only
know.
going to be one at the per course, to my understanding.
I'm talking
if
about
it's
in terms of
approved.
people
And if somebody
thinking they're-
wants to try it out, that's
Yeah.
their choice. It's not.
Right,
But
yeah.
we're going
But
to
I'm
be
thinking
doing
in terms
major
of
research before.
what they would want to use them for if they bought one.
Right.
But maybe just at the golf course.
That'll be their choice. So, or if there's.
Well, yeah, I know that.
If there's any more
That's what I was
questions.
trying to say. Anyway, okay.
Thank you. Please come to the mic, if you will. Give us your name and rec card number.
Mark Martin, 130408. My question is for Todd. You had that, whatever, 1.3 million. My only question is there any revenue to be gained getting rid of the old equipment? Like, is there some kind, is there a market for the equipment we're replacing?
Yeah, years ago, there used to be, we found somebody that would buy that old equipment and then they'd refurbish it and take it to other golf courses. But right now, when we're done with it, there's not a lot left on it. And then we're all Toro equipment, so we can use the parts off that old equipment and put it on the shelf and use it for other equipment, and for other repairs at all 7 golf courses. So that's what we do. So when we have that equipment ready, the mechanics come over, they strip that down, they take everything off of there that's working, that's good, and they'll take it back to their mechanic shop, so they have that to use on their equipment. So, but then after that, we can, scrap metal, depending on the price of that, we can take that down and get some money for that. So not a lot, but we do get all the parts off of it, so
Okay, thank
there's
you.
some value there. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So moving on, we'll go to 4.02. It's group play discussion. This was originally brought forward from one of our residents, and Pat has put together a great presentation, and I think Kathy, you submitted quite a few questions for Pat as well. So hopefully Pat will have answered all your questions.
All right, very good, thank you. This, yes, is a presentation. It really has 2 categories. It's a little overview of group play, a little history there, and then we go into the lottery and how effective the lottery is and how it works. So group play, I got here in September of 2012. Group play was already in place. The biggest challenge we had in golf ops was scheduling. We had close to 55, 60 groups, 7 courses, 4 courses primarily, and this was done prior to any type of program. So this was paper and pencil, 3 months of calendars, 7 golf courses. So it was quite the mathematical exercise. Printed up in an Excel spreadsheet and emailed it out to all the monitors. So since then, we've made some progress in some areas, especially the lottery and especially the way we book tee times. So where do we start with group play? Well, I printed out the policy statement G6, highlighted in red is group play, an organized golf program administered through the Golf Operations Department. Group play program is used to help promote and encourage the playing of golf within the residents of Sun City West. So that's by definition what our charge is. And with that, I've got some history to that. Maybe. So here's a brief overview of the history of group play. We started, this particular example started in 2010. You can see the total number of groups. Groups are defined by different collection of people, 16 to 40 strong in each group. So that's what you see at the bottom, 36 of the total groups in 10, up to 59 in 2020. Here's the breakouts, and I put a couple examples back in 2021. This was the breakout on a weekly basis. You can see the size of the group across the top. So on Monday, we had 16 player groups, all the way to 7 with 40. So you can see the 57 groups for that season. More current numbers are 2024. We've actually reduced our groups this last year, but I think you're seeing a little bit bigger group size is what I'm seeing as far as trends. So years ago, we did a couple presentations. This was what the 2017 numbers looked like, and let me explain this real quick. We were trying to see what the saturation was of group play before the lottery. And being in golf ops, we hear both sides of the story. Hey, you know, group play is a mixture of people that really support golf and they love to play. And then we also have residents that love to play, but they're not an organized group. They want to play as a foursome or as a twosome or what have you. So we've got to kind of weigh this out and see what the advantages to both are. So we put a matrix together here. The 1,036 is the available primetime tee times available during the week for all golf courses, for all 7 golf courses. At that time in 2017, 440 of those were booked prior to the lottery. So 43% of our tee times were booked. But it left 596 tee times or 149 foursomes available. So the highlighted numbers are the kind of the troubled areas, if you would, things that might challenge a resident to get a tee time. So we looked at those in particular and said we need to reduce this a little bit. But you can see that Saturday and Sunday are small, and then Tuesday, of course, because we have ladies league in the morning, that takes up that. We don't have a lot of play in the afternoon with organized play. So moving forward, we made some adjustments. And these have been ongoing adjustments since 15 or 16. At one time, we didn't rotate group play through 7 golf courses. If you wanted to play regulation, you rotated through the 4. We did have some specific groups that wanted to play executive only. So there were some particulars that we had to deal with. This was an example of if we put all the groups just on the regulation courses that wanted to play regulation courses, what that saturation looked like. And you can see it's very, very high. So by adding the executives and letting everybody play all 7 courses, it diluted it. So this is where we really found some challenge. So some of our policies came out of this particular slide and study. So this is where we are today. With the 50 groups, Monday is 43%. Fridays is 42, Thursday 32, to an average of 28%. But what I want to reiterate is less groups, but they're gravitating to the 28, 32, 36, and 40 size. So here's the guideline or the overview of group play. 16 to 40 players. Required that we in golf ops have a separation of groups from 30 to 60 minutes between groups. All 7 courses are utilized. Preferred tee times are just that. They can request a tee time, but we have the ability to adjust an hour before or an hour after their preferred based upon what's going on in the community. And then up to 10% of group play in that particular group can be public or guests, somebody visiting from out of state. So case in point, if you have a group of 20, 2 people out of those 20 can be non-residents. As far as breakout of group play, we have out of the 50 groups, we have 37 are men. Ladies, we have 9 groups, and mixed, we have 4. We have out of the 50 groups, we have 6 groups that play multiple times. And then the non-resident play is limited to 10%, as I mentioned, and we monitor that in golf ops. So that's an overview of group play. And I would like to open it up for any questions if we can before we get into the lottery. Any questions there?
Any questions for Pat on group play? Okay, go ahead, Tom.
One question. Pat, you said 10% can be guests.
Yes.
Is there a limit to how many times the same guest can play?
We haven't put anything in writing, but we're trying to keep the same guests from playing. So if somebody lives in Grand, we don't want to see them over and over and over. The intent behind the 10% was if you had a relative, Tom, visiting from out of town and wanted to play, you had the opportunity to get them to play in your group. So we watch that. Every once in a while we get somebody to respond, hey, so-and-so looks like they're playing quite a bit. We see them on the tee sheet, then we start making some calls. They're, all in all, they're pretty good, all in all.
Well, I'm going to have some questions, and I'm also probably, Lisa, you're probably not going to like this, but recommend another work group, but I'm not going to jump there yet. Okay. Pat, on this particular one, the gender breakout of groups, and you can even take gender, well, no, leave that there. This is really a misleading statistics. There's 50 groups. It's really the number of participants that you need to know, not the number of groups. Okay. So you could have 37 men's groups of 40, and because I don't have the breakdown, other than on this other chart, I have that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just misleading. I just don't think that's pertinent information in here. Okay. In terms of that. I do think that to really revisit or dig into the larger size groups, I think you said you've seen a growth there, and maybe these need to be broken up into smaller. I'm not anti-group, but I'm also very aware of the lack of the ability to get tee times during the prime time. And you even narrowed when I did some of my statistical work, I had prime time up to 12:52 and you went just to 12. So right. I give you credit for even narrowing that. But what we're seeing is, because this was grandfathered in, and that's a good term, grandfathered in, probably 80, I'm gonna guess 90% of the participants are men. And no one seems to know, how do we form a group? Can you take more groups? Can we not? I don't know the answer to any of these.
Sure.
And maybe we need to look at that. I can tell you I've been looking at tee sheets and the ability to get tee times in the morning in prime time. I'm going to say from a female perspective, and I'm just going to give you some data here. On Monday, January 29th, and I've done this for multiple weeks. On Monday, January 29th at Grandview, 3 women got to play. On Thursday at Grandview, 25 women got to play. On Friday, on Grandview, 17 women got to play. And I'll give you just another one here. So it appears this is on the regulation courses. And I think that's another thing we need to consider as to how this might impact opportunities. At Trail Ridge, on Monday, the 29th, 8 women got to play. On Thursday, February 1st, 51 women got to play. On Friday, no women got to play, 160 men did. So the bottom line, if you just look at the percentages of taking from the groups here, it appears by looking at the T-sheets, and it's hard to see on the T-sheets because you can't see where the groups are blocking out the tee times, which is the interplay of large lottery groups coming in too. And that's why I think maybe a deeper dive into this to really understand it. But in essence, what we have on the regulation courses is on at least one of these dates, most of these dates, 95% were occupied by men, 5% by women.
So two things that strike me in that comment there. One, are you looking at the T-sheets where you go in?
Yes.
And where it says M or F?
Yes, and I don't know where groups are on that. That's why I said this interplays with lottery coming in, potentially with large lottery groups coming in as well.
So two things.
Yeah.
That information is pulled from your contact list, whether or not you described yourself as a male or female.
Right.
And our data shows that about 50% of our community hasn't defined themselves. So when it's not defined, it defaults to male.
Well, why would you do that?
Don't know, didn't write the program. So that's where it defaults to.
Is that new information for the golf committee as well? You knew it defaulted to men? And you don't have a problem with that?
Well,
I bet Lisa does.
no,
There's a different
well,
way
no,
to show that.
I'm not sure how
Yeah.
they can
Anyway, that's
do it otherwise. Member.
You don't know that those are all. You don't
Male.
know how many
Right.
people the ladies actually wanted to play.
Right, that's where I was going with that, Patty.
Right.
What I was going to suggest, Kathy, is perhaps the data that you have on those days, if you want a deeper dive into that per se, you can give Pat your data and have him do research if you want, and see maybe perhaps we don't have additional women asking for tea times at that time. And if we're not, then that's, I mean, I think we're going somewhere that is, I think we're opening a can of worms that doesn't need to be opened, in my opinion. However, it maybe Pat can find additional data for you, but I think that's something you have to give him your data for him to research.
But he's got the data. I
So-
took it right off his stuff.
So to comment on that, piggyback on that,
Okay.
so if I look up any of yours contact information, it has address, it has, the pertinent phone numbers, has when you were joined as a member,
Right.
has your email address, and it has a classification, gender.
And if we
And when
didn't
it's
fill
blank,
that out,
when it's blank, it goes to,
Right. You just
shame
said
on,
that.
shame on
so the
us.
first thing we need to do is get that, so that everybody is defined. That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
And to Patty's comment, that's exactly right. When you quoted the numbers here, we've got to compare to how many people put in a lottery request
Right.
that fit that parameters, all ladies or mixed or what have you. I think that'll be a telltale too. So it's a little skewed
Right.
from my perspective of what we're seeing. So let's work on that and see what we can do to get better information. And that
I also-
defining has to come through membership, meaning we've got to put some kind of plan together to
Right.
reach out to everybody and
Right.
say, we need your help. What are you? Are you a male or
Well-
undecided? Or, I don't know.
I'm not sure I'm following all that.
Okay.
But I just, the groups are growing, the larger groups are growing, which means it's less tea times for Sun City West members.
So,
And whether you're male or female, there's
Yeah,
less tea times
and I think this
in the
lottery,
prime time.
this lottery presentation will help us understand the efficiency of the lottery system. It is really good.
Well, let's do the lottery and
Okay.
see if that helps a little bit, and if it doesn't, then
Okay.
let's see if that helps. If it doesn't,
That's fair.
then we'll
Yep.
revisit. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Pat.
Yep, so moving into the lottery. Who's used the lottery system here? Everybody's used it. All right. So you need to be logged into the portal. So you got to be set up on the portal. You got to have an email address, correct? A designated one. It can't be shared because it can only be attached to one person. So online, you've got a form to fill out. We still take them in paper and pencil, but that's by far less than it was 5 years ago. So we're really seeing a lot of people gravitate to the online portal, which is great. So when you see this form that you want to fill out, it asks a couple questions. And it asks you, do you want to have time be the default, or do you want the course? Is the course important to you? And that's very important. Here's a little other caveat I'll mention. Once you open up that form, it defaults to time. Okay? So the two examples here on the screen are the course. If you pick course, or excuse me, time, the top one in black, it'll go at 8 o'clock if that's your first tee time that you want, and it'll go across to all your courses. So if you pick all 7 courses, it'll go, is there an 8 o'clock available at Deer Valley? Nope. Is there one at Desert Trails? Nope. Is there one at Echo Mesa? Nope. There's one at Grandview. Okay? So that's how it selects that. If you go by course, it goes vertically. So I put in a lottery slip for 8 to 10 o'clock. Okay? And I want to play Deer Valley first and then Desert Trails. It goes Deer Valley, 8 o'clock. Is there one? Nope. Is there a Deer Valley at 8:07? Nope. 8:15? Nope. 8:22. Okay, I'm in. So it goes vertically. So if the time is important to you and you put all 7 courses, because we've all had this happen, how come that lottery request gave me my last place, the worst course I wanted to play? Okay? Well, it was because it was probably your 7th. Once you got selected, it went through its gyrations and said, I've got one at Trail Ridge. Okay? But if the course is important to you, select that and it'll go in that window that you put in. The key here is to maximize both of those, number of courses and time. So if you're putting in a window of 4 golf courses, regulation only in a 2-hour window, and that window is 8 to 10, good luck. You're going to get it eventually, but you're not going to get it every week. You're not. And we'll show this. Okay, so here's some overview of the lottery system, similar to what we talked about. Singles can go on the lottery. Some people didn't know that. The way a single works is that if it gets selected, it gets held until a twosome or a threesome gets in your parameters. Okay? Now, the reason why that's important is if we had 8 singles get selected 1 through 8, first 8, and they all had different requirements for tee time, you could have 8 singles back to back to back. Okay? What it does is that holds the single and matches you up with a twosome or threesome. So it's very fair. You haven't lost anything. You're getting paired with a twosome or threesome. Okay? Small groups can be booking up to 40. Now, this was something that we put in. Originally, it was 24 players, but we had group play, and we had group play that wasn't scheduled during the overseeding. So in order to accommodate everybody, we said, okay, you can put up to 10 tee times in here. Each person or each group had to have a captain, which was a resident, and they basically have 10 chances. So some people say, well, that's not fair. They got 10 chances, and I only get 1. But they got to find a spot for 10 groups. Okay? So it's a trade-off. You can get selected, but if I don't have 10 consecutive groups, I don't have a place to put you and you get bumped. Okay? Talking about Mr. Ingram here, his suggestion about weighting it, it's not weighted. It's a flip of the coin every single weekend or every week. Everybody has the same chance every week. There is an opportunity to weigh it, and that's something to look at if we're interested in doing that. Grand does it. Sun City Grand does it. They weigh it so that if you get an 8 o'clock tee time this Saturday, you can put one in for next Saturday. You're not getting it. And they spread it around that way. Okay? So that's something to consider. I'm not a big proponent of it, but that's me. Here's a slide right here about 8 to 10 groups. That would be 32 to 40 groups, 40 people. Here is the, in October, we didn't have any pre-booking of groups, so this would be where all of the groups, if they still wanted to try and play, would put in their 32 players, their 40 players. So we had 324 lottery requests out of 4240. So 7.6% of those lottery requests went to a big group. Okay? Because they couldn't get consecutive tee times. That was the big push. The reason there's January is 10,000 is because we had limited courses in October and November. That's why the selection is smaller. So as you can see, January, February, and March, there's even less because we're pre-booking the group play. This is all residents outside of group play wanting to book. So very, very small percentage.
Pat, when does group play start? November?
Group play goes year round, but we cut it off at the start of overseeding, so end of September, and don't start it again until third week in November.
And that's how you made up for it by the groups of 10 of 40 people.
Correct.
And so in 40 people, only 4 residents have to be playing.
No, 10 residents have to play, one per
one
foursome.
per foursome.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 40 people, 10 residents.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
There's generally more than that. So this is the one that doesn't go monitored by us in group play. If you wanted to put in a group for 40 players during overseeding, you could have yourself and 3 guests, and then you could have Michael and 3 guests. I don't monitor that, but if I'm pre-booking it, it's got to be 90% residents. It's a big difference. Okay, and then I wanted to share this because this is really the telltale for the success of the lottery system. So let's just read up in July. We had number of tee time requests, 1,284, number of booked tee times from the lottery that actually got placed on the tee sheet per the request, 1,257, and then 27 got bumped. In other words, they didn't get put on the tee sheet. And typically the reason they didn't get put on the tee sheet is a request of, I want Deer Valley from 7 to 7:30. Okay, you've got 4 tee times. If you've got 1,284 requests, the odds aren't in your favor. So the percentage of booked requests was 97.9% from the lottery. Now let's go into busy season, right? Let's get into January. We had 3922, those are separate lottery requests. We booked 3602 out of those. 320 got booted for whatever reason. Typically it's not, the parameters aren't wide enough, but we got 91.8% booked. So after the lottery was run, and I think probably most of you, if you've gone through the lottery, you get a call from somebody in golf ops. Hey, this is Tom. You got bumped. This is what I have available. Does any of this work for you? So we try to finish it because if you took the time to fill out a lottery request, we want to take care of you as best we can. Because at midnight, after the lottery is run, you can go to the website and start booking tee times. Or you can wait until 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 for a call center, and get somebody on the phone and book a tee time. So from our standpoint, this is very successful in the sense that it wasn't that many years ago, 7 golf courses, you either had to show up or call that golf course to book a tee time, okay? So if you wanted to play Deer Valley, you either called Deer Valley, because they alternated, show up in person, what tee time do you want? Call, answer a phone call, and alternated. Here you can be at all 7 golf courses at one time, you can put in your parameters, and you can just play the lottery with this. So it's quite the improvement over what we've had in the past. I think the challenge for us is making sure everybody understands the rules, how to best maximize it. Here's a tip. Don't put 10 o'clock down. Don't put 9 o'clock down. Don't put 8 o'clock. Put 8:15. Put 8:45. Put something off the hour, because you'll see in some other reports, they really spike on the hour. All these requests are at 10 or at 9, but there's nobody requesting 9:15. Just a little bit of a twist. So very efficient, very good. If you ever want to come up and see it, it's pretty neat to watch. It does it behind the scenes, and at 4 o'clock it runs. It went from a blank tee sheet to a full tee sheet, and then we're making some phone calls. So it's good. It's good. All right, let's see if I have anything else here. Nope, that's all I got. Any questions?
Questions? No? Okay. Anybody, questions on the lottery? No? Okay. Kathy, are you circling back to group play or?
Group play was grandfathered in 2010.
It was before that. Maybe somebody here.
2010, at least that one chart showed back as far as
That's
2010.
all
Yeah,
the information that I
that you
have.
probably have, right.
Patty,
I still
do you
think,
have any- Patty, can you answer that? Okay.
out of the 50, I think, for 2024, 50 groups, how many of those are women? Number of groups?
7.
7?
Yeah.
And what are the size of those groups?
I've got 3 or 4 of them, and I know Patty's in one of them. I've got 3 or 4 of them that are 40.
32? Well, that's kind of the information I'm trying to get
Yeah,
at.
Thursday's a really big day for ladies.
That's because Monday, Wednesday, and Friday men play Tuesday, Thursday, because women have been forced to play on Tuesday, Thursday, because you can't get the tee times. So I'm sure we're going to disagree on some of this.
Yeah.
I think your policy is to look, to make sure it's expedient and has equity in it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying equal. 35% of the women in the league, 35% of the league players are women. And when you see such small numbers on your tee sheets, it seems to me as a leader, you would start asking some questions.
So
Is it the impact of the group play that has been grandfathered in for years? It reminds me of, I hate to say this, Title IX, where you almost have to start all over again and really revisit how we're doing some things. I'm not necessarily say flush it all. I'm not sure it's perfect. I think we need to look at, do we need to make any changes in sizes? I feel a real resistance to change, I feel a real resistance to even looking at information. I find that unsettling for someone like me who has been in the information and understanding business my whole life. So I would advocate, and I know Karen will go nuts too, a work group for group play to dig into some of these questions. That's what I would advocate.
So my information that I've been exposed to and have collected, and again, some of it's not absolutely accurate. Typically, our breakout of rounds in Sun City West is 75% men, 25% women. I find that this is similar to the mix if you add both the ladies and the mixed groups. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. 7,800 golfers is in our community. So it's a big group. 26% of our population plays golf. A typical community would have 10% or so play golf. So it is a very active golf, and the numbers seem to be pretty consistent, but it's definitely worth looking into. Absolutely. And the lottery is not gender-based, as you know, Kathy.
Right.
So when you put in a lottery request, it doesn't look at any of that. It's like ping pong balls. It picks it out and says,
Right.
whoever number 12 is, we're going to place them where they want to go. So there's no bias there. So from my standpoint, and again, I'm going to use equity and fairness. If you're interested in playing, you've got the same chance as anybody else is playing. It's whether or not your parameters line up with what the lottery is trying to sell or provide. So it's pretty efficient, but it's always worth a conversation. You bet.
I'm not focused on lottery other than the large groups.
Okay, I'm going to once again ask that, Kathy, if you want to share the data that you have, the specific dates that you had in question with Pat, and if you all want to review that, and If you have any discrepancies and you want to bring that information forward, at that point, you can bring it forward in the March committee meeting, Pat, if you have it. That's great, and I am going to opt not to create a second work group at this moment, because I am just the interim committee chair at this moment.
Chicken.
No, I've already created one work group, and I think Pat needs to research the data you have, the dates, and if in fact he finds a discrepancy, then he can bring that in March to the committee chair, whoever that may be, whoever Tim appoints, and bring that data forward. And at that moment in time, then the committee chair can decide to create a work group to address it further.
And Kathy, I've got that handy. As far as number of ladies playing in group play, I can give you a total. I'll shoot that over to you.
Okay.
I have a question, Pat.
Yeah.
How many women are in green? Compared to men?
There's more women than men. I don't know the numbers, but I could find that out too.
Okay, if there's no more questions from the committee, do we have any questions from the audience? If you wouldn't mind coming, Mike, giving your name and rec card number, please.
Mark Martin, 130408. This was not going to be my question, but I think if Pat can figure, if the committee can figure out how to get that designation thing corrected, that might solve all your questions right there.
Correct.
But my question, and this goes to not just the group play, but it goes to Tuesday and Wednesday play. And I guess my question, maybe Patty might be able, since she runs a group. Do you know who is showing up every week? Like, if you have a group of 40, you have 40 people that you know are absolutely showing up that week?
I have reserved for 32 people. With the understanding that when I send in my T-sheet,
Yeah.
send in my group play request, I always send it in Saturday morning, so it can be there to run on Saturday night. And if I only need 7 groups instead of 8, that those 4 groups will open up that night for the lottery.
Okay,
But
is that the
I
way,
always-
is that the way all groups are? Because I live on Deer Valley Golf Course, and this has been an issue for the 7 years I've lived there. I see Deer Valley sit open on a Wednesday afternoon sometime for 3-4 hours. Tee sheet is filled up because it's a shotgun starts, there's 2 shotguns, and I will sit in my living room for 3-4 hours, and there is no play, 0.
What day of the
Because
week? I mean,
Wednesday,
what time of the year?
Wednesday, all, 2 days, yesterday.
Well,
Well, yesterday was bad weather, but even by the afternoon, they might only have half of their tee sheet filled.
No. Deer Valley Men's Club has usually 250 people playing.
Listen, I live there, I could tell you, I see it out
But
my
I run the
window,
league, sir. I know there's
You know.
141 people playing in the afternoon, and when they
Not
started
every-
at 11:45.
Not every Wednesday.
Yes,
Not
it
every
is.
Wednesday. Plus, the fact is, the tee sheet is not open even after that. Okay? And I'm not even saying it, but my question with just the groups, how do we know? Because my problem is not just with the groups, my problem with the people not canceling their tee times or putting in, like, I played with a gentleman who told me he puts his wife's name down every day. She's never picked up a golf club in her life, and she puts her, so he can get a twosome because he thinks a twosome goes ahead of which it does, it goes ahead of a single. So he puts down 2 names, okay? And there's no repercussions for cancellation. And that my other problem is we got people, it's gotten so bad that they're not even canceling. They're just, not showing up.
They're just showing up at the course and telling them. that-
Not even doing that.
No, the
just not-
one
just not
person
coming.
is, the one person showing up and just saying the other
Yeah, the
person's
other
not
person's
there.
not playing.
Correct.
And it's
Right.
It's wrong. But, so that's my concern with these groups. I don't know if the groups I don't know any of that stuff. But
Okay.
if they say they have 40, are they having 40 golfers? That's my concern.
Yeah, so they have to, we hold the groups forums prior to the lottery, and then we asked, what is your commitment? And then they adjust whatever that is. If they have, typically, we don't let them expand because of that 30 to 60-minute window, but they can reduce. So, again, at one time, years ago, this was kind of a challenge for us. They've improved a lot. So if you want to talk about completion, how many people, it's in the upper
Pat,
90s%.
Pat, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you could, can you maybe take this offline with him after the meeting or something? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good.
Are there any outstanding issues for the committee? No? Any other comments, concerns? No? Okay. With that, we did have one online comment. However, the person did not give their rec card number. So the question was concerning the handicap golf carts. So we did have a lengthy discussion on that. And I'm assuming that the person got all the information they needed because they then were watching the meeting. So hopefully all that information, their question was answered. With that, the next meeting is Wednesday, March 14th, here 1:30 in the lecture hall, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.